What's happening, everyone? Tomas here. Welcome to another video. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be covering something that I've been itching to talk about for a while now on my channel, and that is the differences between buying and renting when it comes to a home. If you've ever wondered about what the differences are, the pros and cons of each situation, what's more affordable, as well as what's going to work best given your personal situation, then this is going to be a good video for you. I just know personally that there are so many people out there wondering these same things for themselves every day, running through all sorts of different calculations. And then on top of this, there are so many more people that are exposed to misconceptions or truths that are biased truths about buying and renting, okay? So it's my goal with this video to help enlighten you on what you need to know when it comes to buying and renting, as well as clear up the air when it comes to the financial impacts of both scenarios. So before I get into that, if you like this video, if you walk away having learned anything at all, then I just ask that you please hit that like button for me. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort for me to keep these videos going, and it's this positive activity, the likes, subscribes, comments, that helps the YouTube algorithm to push my content, and put it in front of the right people, the people who need to see it, and it's going to help to grow my channel. So yeah, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of my content, things along the lines of personal finance, wealth building, investing, the stock market, debt management, coaching. You get all that good stuff here at Boss Financial. So yeah, should you buy or should you rent? So if you skim through all the arguments, you'll hear on this topic, renting's a better option, buying's a better option, but what really is the better option? Well, the proper and the honest answer that you've been wondering is it depends. And I don't mean that as a blanket statement or a cop-out, okay? But it is the truth that everyone's scenarios, everyone's situations and circumstances are different. So there isn't one answer that's going to fit all the humans on Earth looking for a place to live. It really does depend, but something that you can be happy about is that you click this video, okay? Because today I'm going to give you the framework to make the proper decision for yourself, for your own circumstances. I'm going to fill you in on the pros and the cons of both buying and renting, but then from there, the decision, it's ultimately up to you, okay? It's in your hands, so I hope that you're just going to take the information that you get from this video, and hopefully you're going to be able to use it to make your own good decision, one that you're hopefully not going to regret. When it comes to buying a home, that means you're owning it. You're going to gain equity in your house. This is probably the biggest reason why people automatically assume that owning is better than renting, because you're gaining this equity. But guys, trust me, this is not the only thing you should be considering for your decision whether you want to rent or buy. If you're having trouble understanding, let me get into a little more detail here, okay? When you buy your home, chances are you're going to get a mortgage, okay? Which is a loan against your house that you're going to pay down over a long period of time. This is typically going to be a lower interest rate, so you should take advantage of this by going with the 25-year mortgage, which in Canada is the longest amortization period, but 30-year mortgages do exist, but they're more common in the States. And on top of this, you're probably going to want to go with the fixed rate as opposed to the variable rate, which will increase your mortgage payments if interest rates were to rise. So bottom line, you're going to want a 25-year mortgage fixed rate. The thing about a mortgage, however, is when you make your mortgage payments, part of that goes towards the interest, and the rest of that payment goes towards the principal of the house. The amount that goes to the principal will start to build what we call equity, okay? Which is your portion of ownership of the house. If you were to sell your current house, then you would subtract the amount owing on your current mortgage from the sale price, and the difference is going to be your equity in the house, okay? Which is basically money that you get to pocket. Over time, as you pay your mortgage down, you're going to accumulate equity in your house, which increases your net worth, because in this regard, your house is an asset. You can even borrow against equity in your house with things such as a home equity line of credit, and that can be used for things like home renovations or even sending the kids to college. So now you understand equity, but how does this compare when it comes to renting a house or an apartment? Well, the reason that people jump to the conclusion that owning is better than renting is because when you rent, you pay your money monthly to a landlord. The landlord is the actual owner of the property, and he's benefiting from you paying him every month, okay? You're not gaining equity in the house, so essentially your monthly rent payment is only entitling you to another month of having that roof over your head and nothing more. The main argument with this is that the money is wasted, okay? It's thrown out, you're never getting it back because you're not getting any equity when you rent, and you're just making someone else richer. Well, while this is true, this is a very biased or tunnel vision way of looking at things, okay? This is not the only thing that you should consider or base your decision on, and so we're going to cover what else is important. The fact is, even when you're not gaining equity in a house when you rent, okay, this money isn't just wasted like everyone tells you it is. If you're going to be renting long term, then chances are, yes, this probably isn't the best financial option for you, but people are forgetting about the opportunity cost you're losing out on when you purchase. chances are the place you want to live is typically going to be cheaper to rent than to own, okay? So with this difference, you can actually really come out ahead. So what do you want to do with this extra money? You invest it. Yes, the housing market tends to appreciate, but if you chose instead to rent and then invest the difference, you could really come out ahead. For example, if you were to just invest in the total stock market as a broad index, down the line, this is going to yield a significantly higher return than you would get from your house just increasing in value. So simply, this just comes down to understanding interest rates. The problem is, most people don't invest their money, okay? So how are you supposed to know this if you don't even know how to invest your money? That's why financial education is extremely important, okay? People need to view both sides of the coin and understand that you're paying for a roof over your head, okay? You're not just wasting your money. I don't know why people say that. You need somewhere to live, so you're paying for this place to live, even if it's just month by month basis. And 9 times out of 10, when you invest the difference when you rent as opposed to buying, then this can really set you up for the future. And this leads me to my next point, and that is a down payment. When you buy a house, you'll have to put a down payment on the house, and that is a minimum of 5% of the purchase price. So if you're buying a $200,000 home, then this 5% down payment, that's going to be $10,000, okay? But if you pay a minimum of 20%, then you also won't have to pay for the homeowner's insurance, which is another expense when it comes to buying a home, okay? And you have to buy this homeowner's insurance if you pay anything less than 20% down. So now if you try to save 20% for that $200,000 house, this 10 grand just turned into 40 grand, okay? Or if you buy a $400,000 house, your 20% down payment is going to be $80,000. So this is a big reason why people are staying home longer and longer just to save up for this down payment. Because coming up with this, saving up for your down payment is actually one of the most challenging hurdles when it comes to buying a house. This is why more and more people are starting to prefer renting over buying as time goes on. And it's not that millennials are lazy, okay? A lot of the time, if not most of the time, it's just simply because they can't afford to, or because of their current financial situation, it's just not feasible to save for this down payment. Especially with things like burdensome student debt that's been climbing and climbing over the years. It's really getting out of hand these days, and it's weighing the younger generation down, myself included. But also on top of this, it's also not easy to save for this down payment when rental prices keep going up, okay? So in Canada, we're looking at an increase of 5% for renting prices every year. And in Toronto, it's more like 9 to 11% right now because there's a higher concentration of growth in major cities, as well as a 2.4% vacancy rate for Canada, which is the lowest rate since 2009. This is largely due to the increased immigration we've been getting in Canada, as well as our high unemployment rate, which is bringing growth to the youth employment as well as the aging population. It's another trade-off as well for millennials and the younger generation who really don't feel comfortable buying a place and settling down. This generation is more likely to move more often, to travel, to change up the scenery, get jobs all around the country, things like that. So it doesn't really make sense for them to pay all this money for a housing that's permanent if they're just going to get up and leave shortly down the line. That's why generally I would say that unless you get a phenomenal buying opportunity, just a really, really good deal, if you're not planning on settling down, if you're not planning on staying at a place for a long term, let's say 8 to 10 years at least, then renting is probably going to be the best option for you. So even in the short run, if you're just to rent for a few years, 5 years, then invest that money, then the growth you're going to get from that investment will help you get your down payment quicker if you're looking to still buy. And guys, I hear you. You might be thinking, Tomas, renting isn't that much cheaper than owning, okay? You're acting like there's such a big difference to invest when you end up renting. But let me tell you, we are not done there, okay? Your monthly payment isn't the only financial burden that you should be considering. On top of this are some other very important things that you need to consider that are really going to make or break your decision to buy or rent. I'm going to list these off now, starting with taxes and insurance. Your mortgage isn't the only expense when it comes to owning a house, okay? You also have to pay taxes. This gets paid to your municipal government, and the price varies. It can depend on things like your city, your neighborhood, how big your house is, the improvements to your house, the condition, all of those sorts of things, but it's not cheap, okay? Many people forget this altogether or they don't consider it, but let me tell you, I promise, this is not something that you're going to be smiling when you're paying, okay? It's not cheap. Now, when you rent, your good pal, Mr. Landlord, he's going to have to pay this for you, okay? So you can rest easy at night knowing that you don't have to pocket this extra expense. On top of this, as we talked about before, if you purchase your house with less than a 20% down payment, then you're also going to have to purchase homeowner's insurance, which is, again, more money out of your pocket. Now for another extremely important factor that you want to consider when planning what you want to do, and this is actually a big one, okay? One that people completely forget about. So when you buy a house, as we've talked about, it's not just a mortgage payment and then everything's said and done. Many people think that this is all they need to worry about, which is why that people automatically assume that renting is more expensive and a waste of money. But on top of this payment, okay, and then again, things like your down payment, your insurance, your property taxes, we also have something called repairs and maintenance. If you're renting, you don't have to worry about these things, okay? If your toilet breaks, call your landlord. If your AC breaks and you're roasting alive, call your landlord. If you have mold or water damage, well, you know who to call, okay? And it's not the Ghostbusters. When you rent, this is your landlord's house, okay? So they're responsible for maintaining this. So if something goes wrong, he or she are going to come out there. If not, they're going to send someone out there to fix things, and they're going to get billed later for it. But when it comes to owning your own place, even if your house is in immaculate condition, trust me, there will come a day where something big is going to require your financial attention. People don't realize the fact that maintaining a house isn't cheap, okay? And these expenses really add up, especially if you don't have something like an emergency fund in place to help bail you out when these unexpected occurrences happen. Because trust me, there's nothing worse, nothing you're going to regret more than forcing yourself into debt all because you weren't prepared. And it's not just the big things and the big repairs, okay? Also, small tasks and little maintenance can really eat up your money. And this doesn't even include your utilities, okay? So this is things like your heat, your hydro. Generally, all this is going to be included if you were to rent. So all these things here play into the total cost of owning a home, so don't ignore them, guys. Just please do not ignore these things. And lastly, guys, probably the most under talked about expense when it comes to buying a home instead of renting are closing fees and realtor fees. Every time you buy, every time you sell, you're going to have to pay these closing fees, these legal, realtor fees, commissions, okay? And this is immediately off the bat going to be upwards of 5% of the purchase price. So if you're looking at a house that's 200 grand, then you're immediately out $10,000 there. So you have to make sure that if you're selling, then you're not making any money if you're not selling immediately for more than 5% of the purchase price. So in the end, there's a lot of things to consider when you're trying to determine whether buying or renting is going to be right for you. When you rent, you have more mobility and you're also avoiding all these extra costs that come with owning a house, okay? So these are your property taxes, your insurance, your down payment, your closing fees, your maintenance and repairs, and your utilities. However, when you rent, you aren't earning equity towards a house, okay? And on top of this, your rent payments aren't fixed, meaning that anytime your landlord can increase the payments, okay? As opposed to when you have a mortgage, this is the same monthly payment over a long period of time. So you have some financial security if you were to own a home. However, with renting, you can invest the money that you're saving between the difference of renting and owning, okay? And this can play out really well for you. What it basically all comes down to is the purchase price of the home, the value of the home, okay? The amount of the down payment you have to put down on there, as well as how long you plan on living there for. And on top of this, the average appreciation in the past 25 to 30 years. If you are planning on settling down and staying long term, then owning might be right for you. If you have some insecurity or might be planning on moving or even changing jobs down the line, then renting might be the better option for you. As of right now, the market's at a really high level, okay? It's definitely a seller's market right now. So if you're planning on owning, you might want to wait a little bit, wait on the sidelines, because if you buy at the top of the market, okay, when the day comes, it always comes, the price is going to drop and you're going to be losing money. And also, guys, it's important to note that, yes, your house in its physical form is an asset, but in reality, it's actually a liability. It is something that's taking money out of your pocket regularly, okay, guys? So that's why it's extremely important not to go house broke, okay? Meaning that you're buying a house that's way too expensive or way too big for you, where you're spending way too much of your take-home income just towards living, okay? That's just a terrible idea. With that, guys, that's everything I have for you. We're at the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you really learned some things, okay, that you'll be able to remember and properly weigh the pros and cons when it comes to making this important decision for yourself. So I wish you the best in your own financial journey. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. The buttons are just right down there, guys, okay? Can you please just click those for me? It really helps me grow my channel, and I do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And also, feel free to hit the bell icon if you want to stay notified every time I drop a new video. We're going about twice weekly right now. Questions, comments, leave those in the section down below. I'll be sure to get to those, as well as don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Boss Financial Channel. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Stay positive and see you next time.